Hello everybody, this is Zoe from No Safer Place, and today I am here with the review of a play that I went to see last night. Before I start, I just want to say that this was gifted to me. I did receive the tickets as part of the press, but I had no obligation to review it. They didn't tell me that I needed to or anything like that, so I just want to put that out there that this is completely unbiased and completely my own opinion of what I thought of the show. And that show was The Woman in Black. I feel like you probably will have at least heard of the film, which was a massive blockbuster film featuring Daniel Radcliffe. It was absolutely fantastic, but I have to say the theatre show has always been my favourite, and that is coming from someone who is a massive Daniel Radcliffe fan. But I saw the show for the first time over a decade ago now. I was about 15 or 16 and I absolutely adored it then. It was amazing. And when I was invited to this, I was kind of interested to see how much it had changed, if anything had changed at all. Obviously, The Woman in Black is the second longest running play in the West End. The first one, of course, being Mousetrap. But yeah, if you're unfamiliar with the story, it follows the story of Arthur Kipps. It's years into the future and Arthur has hired an actor to help him retell this terrifying story. He wants to give the story the justice it deserves. He feels like the story needs to be shared with the world. He hires an actor to help him tell it. Now, Arthur isn't an actor himself, and that is really quite evident at the start of the play. So after the introductions, we're then retold the story of Ilmarsh House and Alice Drablow, and Arthur has been asked to go to Ilmarsh House and attend Alice's funeral and sort out all her papers, make sure everything is in order, because after all, he is her solicitor. Alice lived in the middle of nowhere, and Ilmarsh House sat in a marshy place where there wasn't really anyone else around. She didn't have any neighbours that were really close by. But when Arthur arrives in the neighbouring town, just the mention of Ilmarsh House and Alice's name is enough to make their faces go ghostly white. They become cold and distant and just seem downright terrified. Now, he hears some of the stories and some of the whispers that are going around at the mention of Alice's name. And Arthur doesn't believe in ghosts. He outright doesn't believe in them. He thinks it's just a load of mumbo jumbo. But let me tell you, that changes by the end of the play. Now, I don't want to say too much more about the story than what I've already told you. Just that you certainly will not be disappointed, and be ready to be scared. So in terms of where I was sitting in the theatre, I was sitting in row E of the stalls. Now, usually I would choose an aisle seat because I don't particularly like to be surrounded by people, but in terms of viewing, it was sensational. It was probably the best seats in the house. I will insert a picture now of what the view was like. So yeah, row E, amazing seats. Now, there's only 2 actors in the entire production, which is very unusual for 2 actors to be able to carry a play so fantastically. But Terence Wilton and Max Hutchinson just do that absolutely exceptionally. The actor plays himself as the actor and Arthur Kipps, and the original Arthur Kipps plays himself and all the other people that Arthur interacts with whilst at Ilmarsh House. And honestly, just from minimal clothing changes and accent changes and even the way they walk, their body language, you could already tell who was about to enter the room, so to speak. It was that good. They were that good at portraying different characters. Terence Wilton obviously more so because he was playing a variety of characters, and it was just exceptional. Timing is everything in horror and comedy. If a joke isn't well timed, or if a jump scare doesn't happen at the right time, a sound effect doesn't come through, you don't get the full effect. And strangely, horror and comedy are the 2 main genres in this play, which I know would sound strange because obviously you're expecting just horror, but this was actually a really funny show. The first act is the act that has far more comedy in it. It's more light-hearted, it's witty, and it really sets the scene of Ilmarsh House. You almost feel like you're there, and there's lots of laugh out loud moments. But the second half is the complete opposite of that. It is all serious. There is no lightheartedness, no jokes. It just becomes more and more tense and more atmospheric as time goes on. It's full of tension, and as I said about timing, the timing in this is absolutely perfect with comedy and the horror aspects of it. There is quite a few jump scares and quite a few loud noises that just come out of nowhere. So I wouldn't suggest this if you're someone that is easily spooked, because there were quite a few gasps and quite a few screams from audience members, which is something that I've not experienced before. I've never been to a show where people have been so scared that they've screamed. And a lot of awkward laughter as well in the horror moments where you're so scared that you don't know whether to laugh or cry. It's just what do I do kind of thing. Now, if you're looking for a massive set and huge staging, this is not the show for you. The set is minimalistic, as is the staging. It's much like the set of Come From Away. Props are used so well and everything's kind of left down to your imagination. As I said, there are a lot of recorded sounds, so apart from recorded sounds and things being used as props, everything else is kind of left down to you. And nothing is scarier than letting your mind go wild and take over. The power of recorded sound in this is absolutely insane. You can't believe what can be achieved just from a scream or a pony and trap or the sound of a train, a platform announcer. It's crazy how effective it is. There is a twist at the end. It is a very good one. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you what it is, and I highly doubt you will know what it is or predict what it is, because it's a good one. To say, I saw the show before, over a decade ago, and although I do remember it being scary, I don't remember it being anywhere near as funny as it was when I saw it yesterday, which I thought added a really great element to it. I was laughing out loud quite a lot in the first half, and I thought that really brought something new to it, especially as someone who has seen it before. So if you're someone that's already seen it and are thinking of rebooking, I would highly suggest doing so, because you're going to get a new experience. The show is 2 hours long. There was a 15-minute interval. I think that was a perfect length. It didn't feel too rushed and it didn't feel too long. I wasn't sitting there thinking, oh, this is boring. I will say, the toilet situation at the Fortune Theatre isn't great. At the interval, I needed to go to the toilet and there was just 2 female toilets for the whole of the stalls. So yeah, that wasn't great, especially when there's quite a few females needing to go in that 15 minutes. There also weren't many people wearing masks, which made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. It was the reopening night of a show that we were so desperate to get back, and I feel like people could have worn masks just to make sure that the front of house staff and the cast were just as protected as they could be, because we really don't want any more shows to be temporarily closed, because that is happening so much. So please, if you do go, wear a mask. I'd say only about 20% of the audience were wearing them, myself being one of them. No, it's not a requirement anymore, but when the theatre industry has been struck so hard because of the pandemic, just wearing a mask could mean the difference between the show continuing to open and not having any temporary closures like a lot of the shows have had in the West End. But that is the first time I have been back in a theatre in 21 months. The last show I saw was West Side Story in Leicester with Jamie Moscato, and that was in December 2019. So it was a massive thing for me to be back in a theatre, and I really felt like I was home. What made this performance extra special was the ending. Obviously, it was the reopening night of The Woman in Black, and at the end of the show, the producer came on stage and the actors came back on stage, and the producer made a speech and Prosecco was passed around to every audience member, and we all made a toast, which I thought was just such a special moment and something I'm obviously not going to experience again. he gave a very emotional speech and said that it was the first time in 540 days that the theatre had been open, and I'm not gonna lie, I cried, I welled up, because 540 days is such a long time, and to be there when it reopens was just such a magical moment. So we had a toast to imagination and the power of imagination, and let me tell you, that is the most important thing when you're going in to see this show. The atmosphere, especially at the end, was absolutely electric. Some of the loudest cheering I've ever heard, and yeah, especially as it being the smallest theatre in the West End, that was a really difficult thing to achieve, to be some of the loudest cheering I've ever heard. But yeah, it was just absolutely electric. And let me tell you, something I have missed so much. It was just absolutely phenomenal, and I would highly recommend it. If you've watched some of my videos before, you'll probably hear that my voice isn't great. That is because as part of the press team I got free drinks, and then we got the Prosecco at the end, and someone got a little bit drunk. I was celebrating, so I was happy to be home in the world of theatre, so I felt like it was worthy of having a drink or two. Just a little side note, if you haven't booked tickets yet and you want to be extra spooked, I would highly recommend sitting on the right hand side of the stalls on an aisle seat. I'm not going to say any more than that, but it is a great place to sit, and is actually the place that I sat when I first went to see it, and you will not be disappointed. So yeah, if you haven't been to see The Woman in Black, I would highly suggest you do. There are some really cheap seats available, and at the moment, if there's a full paying adult, under 18s can go for free, which I think is an absolutely amazing incentive to get young people back in the theatre. Have you been to see it? I would love to know your thoughts. If you haven't been recently, go again, because things seem to have changed, which I think is a great thing for keeping a production alive, and even people that have seen it to keep returning. And yeah, it was a magical night. The actors were just incredible. And I'll probably go back to see it again soon. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like, comment, subscribe, all that usual good stuff. You can also turn on the notification bell to be notified when I upload new videos. I don't really have a schedule anymore. It's not Tuesday and Saturday, it's just whenever I upload. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. Let me know what you would like to see more of on my channel, and I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye.